On today's show, this is how the Ottawa Senators should draft next month in Los Angeles.
And we begin our 2025 NHL Draft prospect profiles with players ranked 50 and 49.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome! You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel to get started. Today is Thursday, May 22nd, and Pilsy, welcome to Locked On Senators draft coverage, year number 6.
Here we go, Ross. I mean, normally this is our playoff time as far as the Locked On Senators podcast goes. This is our time to shine, but this year is a little different. The Ottawa Senators did make the playoffs, so that was our playoff time. Congrats to the Sens. Congrats on us for snapping our drought of no playoff games covered on this show. Don't need to worry about that anymore. The draft, still important for the Ottawa Senators. It's not the main piece anymore, but it's that time of year, and I'm excited to get into it. We have 50 draft prospect profiles to look at this time around.
And we're going to do 2 every single day until the week leading up to the draft. We'll have our full first round mock draft. We begin prepping on that. It's our 3 most viewed videos ever on YouTube, 2022, 23, and last year. We have all sorts of different experts coming on, and they make the picks. They explain why, and we question them and make sure that they're giving us the good information. So that is all to come. And I will say, out of all the prospects, I had a list of 75. We have our 6 different draft experts that we trust with their lists. We averaged them out. I will say I took out defensemen that were under 6 feet tall. The Senators will not draft you. I apologize. Don't bother going to their interview at the draft combine next week in Buffalo. It starts June 1st, runs through June 7th. But with that, I handpicked the 49th and 50th overall players on our list for reasons you will find out very soon in this show. That to say, Pilsy, the Ottawa Senators, I'll say it, even though they don't have a lottery pick this year, this draft is as important as last year when they had the 7th overall pick.
What?
The prospect pool needs depth. It has the crown jewel. They got that last year, and they could have picked about 10 different players in that spot at 7th overall and gotten the number 1 prospect in the organization. You could argue easily that Levi Merilainen deserves the spot as the number 2 prospect. After that, yeah, Stephen Halliday's your pace horse, but beyond, you still have a lot of questions. You've got high upside in certain situations, guys who really broke out this season, and we'll have our updated prospect rankings later on in the next month or 2, but they have an opportunity here to add multiple players that could find their way onto their top 10 list. This draft, I need the Ottawa Senators to take high upside swings, not safe picks, not just athletes who play the game physical and hard. I want you to target skill. If you're Steve Staios and Don Boyd, the head scout for the Senators, we have enough size in the system. It's about getting guys who can be game breakers. I don't care if they're boom or bust even, Pilsy. The chance of having a boom is worth it to me in this draft.
Ross, is this a recording from the last 6 drafts we've covered? Because I feel like every year you and I are on our hands and knees being like, please go for high-end skill. Take that home run swing, and the Ottawa Senators never do it. Height over hype is the draft scouting slogan for the Ottawa Senators. But
no,
look,
new slogan, skill over will.
Okay, I like that. Let's go with that.
Thank you.
But I think now thinking about it, Ross, you do make a good point that this could be a more important draft for the Ottawa Senators than last year or even some years past.
Not
Because
2020.
Well, that's what I was getting to. You and I could have drafted Tim Stützle and Jake Sanderson at 3rd and 5th. In fact, I think you and I would have drafted Tim Stützle and Jake Sanderson at 3rd and 5th there. So the key is rebuilding. It's easy to tear a team down. Anyone could do that. Then you got to start drafting and build it up. So the Ottawa Senators have been through that full cycle, and now we're entering a new era. The rebuild is over. I'm saying it, Ross. The rebuild is over.
Wow, bold.
Yeah, I know. Put that on a quote card. But where it becomes difficult is when you get into this phase in a team's cycle where the Ottawa Senators are, where you made the playoffs, but you're not a Stanley Cup contender, let's be honest, but you made the playoffs. You gave a team a tough time in round 1, pushed the Leafs to 6 games. I know they were down 3-0, wasn't looking great, but they pushed back, and 2 of those losses were in overtime. Let's not forget that. So a competitive first round, I'm willing to say that. So when you have those middle draft picks, that's where you really have to shine, because that's where you're setting your team up to have players that are good enough to play on their entry-level deals in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's going to allow you to spend more money on bigger stars so you can bolster your team's roster while saving on a 3-year, sometimes 2-year window of having a guy making league minimum in your lineup. That's huge. For the teams that are successful, that's a massive part of it, unless you're the Florida Panthers and you say F them picks and you just trade all your picks away because you live in a sunshine tax-free state that everybody wants to play in, but that's a different story for a different time. So right now, with pick 21 in this draft, it's huge for the Ottawa Senators to find a competent player that they can expect to be in the NHL soon. Because where it also gets harder, Ross, when you're picking 3rd overall, teams ahead of you have only taken 2 guys off the list. You got a lot of options. When you get to 21, you might be sitting there being like, we had 5 different guys we liked, and they're all gone. How do we pivot? How do we prioritize what our principles and what our importance is in our draft list is? And that's where it's going to get interesting for the Ottawa Senators, because they haven't had a pick be their first pick in the first round in a while, right? Like they always have at least an earlier pick, or they've traded the pick away and they're not picking until later rounds anyways. So this will be a fascinating challenge for the Ottawa Senators amateur scouting staff.
And they've got another challenge, and that's the fact that the Ottawa Senators don't have their 2nd round pick this year. That was traded in the Fabian Zetterlund deadline deal. And they don't have their own 3rd round pick either. That was moved with Mathieu Joseph for future considerations, who had a great season, I may add. Now, they do have a 3rd round pick. However, it's the Florida Panthers 3rd round pick, which means it's going to be one of the final 4 picks in the 3rd round. So after 21st overall, the Ottawa Senators are going to be sitting on their hands for the next while. Does that make you at all want to trade that pick at 21 to move back and get more draft capital beyond just the late 3rd? And then they have the San Jose Sharks 4th round pick from that move that I just said. So they gave up a 2nd round pick and they got a 4th round pick, and that is going to be the 2nd pick of the 4th round. So Pilsy, we're going to be on Elite Prospects searching up some names there, because they're going to have 2 picks within probably 6 of each other at the end of the 3rd round, start of the 4th.
Hey, we know the Ottawa Senators, the 4th round is their wheelhouse, so I'm excited to see who they pick there. But Ross, I believe my first take about this draft was I think the Senators should strongly consider trading back to acquire more draft capital. So I'm sticking with that. I think the draft,
but would it be this year draft capital?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so, at least. Like, because I think teams will be more willing to trade this year's draft capital than they are willing to trade next year's, and the value attached to those will come at a higher price. So I think you just try to get quantity and try to hit on those picks that you get, especially since you mentioned there's such a gap between the 1st and 2nd picks. You want to try to fill in those gaps, get players you like. And this is not as deep a draft class as before. So you might have more options that maybe you don't love, but at least you're interested in, or other teams are like, there's not really guys we're gung-ho about, so we're willing to give up a couple draft picks to get guys we are really interested in. So I think that would definitely be a strategy for the Ottawa Senators.
Let's take a look at what we last did in the winter update of our top Senators prospects. We had Carter Yakimchuk at number 1, Levi Marilainen at number 2, Zach Ostapchuk at number 3. Of course, he has since been traded to the San Jose Sharks. Stephen Halliday at 4. Blake Montgomery, who's still playing, by the way, getting set for the Memorial Cup with the London Knights. He was at 5. Donovan Sabrango came in at number 6. Then we had Gabriel Eliasson at 7. Luke Ellenis at number 8. Funny enough, we made a mistake yesterday when we were talking about Ellenis signing his deal, saying that maybe one day he could get into our top 10 Sens prospects next year. Well, turns out he was already at number 8. So thanks to Ed for pointing that out on YouTube.
That was just a test to the listeners, Ross. They got to keep us honest and fact check us. So congrats, Ed. You passed that test.
Max Gannett came in at number 9, and Oscar Pistol Pete Pedersen came in at number 10 after his rookie or during his rookie season with Belleville. And maybe we gave him a little kick in the behind, shot him out of a gun in the second half. His offensive numbers definitely improved. Obviously, Tyler Clevin graduated. We also had Matt Sogard as a graduate, which you could go either way on that one. We'd understand if you'd prefer to keep him in. But let's say after 5, I think it is a complete crapshoot right now. So that, like, I get adding more capital to take more swings, get more opportunities, but there's also an argument to be made that if you draft at 21, you could potentially be getting the number 2 prospect in the pipeline immediately. Maybe number 3, number 2 skater. Let's make it easy and go off that.
Yeah, and don't get twisted though, Ross. I'm not talking about trading back 10 picks or something like that. I'm talking about trading back maybe within 3 or 5 picks.
Okay.
Like nothing drastic here.
Okay. So you want to draft in the first round 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I hope that wasn't confusing. I want to be drafting in the 20s of the first round still, for sure. Now, what kind of value are you going to get moving back a couple picks in the 20s in the first round? I'm not sure, but it would be nice just to get a little extra there. I think, Ross, looking at the prospect list we have here, I think there's a couple positions that I want the Ottawa Senators to prioritize. And the first one is right wing. There's only one right winger on this list, and it's Oscar Pedersen at the bottom here. So I think they need a goal-scoring winger or a right shot defenseman. Now, you might be thinking, well, wait, their top prospect is a right defenseman, and then they have another right defenseman, Max Gannett, down here. But you just look at the left side, Sanderson, Chabot, Clevin in the NHL, like that's set. If that's the 3 guys for the next, 5 years, I think I'm happy with that. Whereas the right side, sure, you have Yak, you have Gannett, but you look at Jensen's not going to be around much longer. Artem Zub, sure, he's a reliable guy, but he does have injury concerns. So I want to try to find a guy that you could at least envision, Ross, on your right side, envision one day could be a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah, I like that. And there's going to be opportunity to get that, I believe, in the middle of the first round. We can name names later on as we approach the first round of our draft profiles, which we are going to begin next. You are listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Some crazy back and forth action between the Knicks and the Pacers, Ross.
Why'd you have to go with the NBA? That was such a bad beat last night for me on FanDuel. I had a parlay Jalen Brunson over 25 points, the over of the game 225, and the Knicks to win. So when they were up 16 late in the fourth quarter, I was cheering for the Pacers because I needed the over to hit. And then next thing I know, the Knicks lose in overtime, and I am sitting on my hands. But I will say it made the experience of watching that game very exciting.
Yeah, the NBA playoffs finally trying to live up to what the NHL playoffs are. And if you want to stay in the game before tip-off and live, do it with FanDuel. Player props, performance trends, same game parlays, all those things Ross mentions. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. When I see a player's heating up, I love looking at their prop bets and combining them for a same game parlay. And new customers, FanDuel is a great offer that could give you a big boost. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right, Pilsy, we'll get to our draft rankings in just a moment. We'll explain how we do them for those new to Locked On Senators. This is our 6th year diving head first into the National Hockey League draft. So we don't pretend to be scouts, but at this point, we're tenured. We got some experience under our belts. But Pilsy, the West Final started last night, and it looked like Edmonton was going to steal one on the road until they basically got Oilered. Like, that's the strategy of the Oilers as a team, typically, not necessarily in these playoffs, but have the power play go to work. The Stars score 3 straight goals on the power play, and they end up winning the game.
Yeah, and not just 3 straight goals on the power play, Ross, 5 straight goals in total. The Oilers were up 3-1, and the Stars power back to score 5 straight goals and win that game. And I don't know if you caught it, Ross, on the empty net goal that Esa Lindell scored. It was quite the finish to that game, as all 5 players on the ice for the Dallas Stars were Finnish players. I think it was Esa Lindell, Mikael Granlund, Mikko Rantanen,
Miro Heiskanen,
and Roope Hintz. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, especially like there's not a whole lot of Finnish players in the NHL as far as percentage goes. So to have 5 guys on one team and 5 guys on the ice for a goal in the playoffs, I thought that was pretty cool.
How many all-time Ottawa Senators from Finland can you name?
Jarkko Ruutu.
Correct.
He's the scout that just got honored, right?
No. I don't know if it's his brother. That's Mikko Ruutu.
I got the Ruutus mixed up.
Yep.
But Mikko Ruutu played for Ottawa, right?
He was drafted by Ottawa, never ended up playing there, and he is the brother of both Jarkko and Tuomo Ruutu.
That's funny. Okay.
So interesting. There's a few names that you should get, and I love doing this because now people in their car, they're thinking about it. Who are the Senators' all-time Finnish players?
Levi Meriläinen.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, man, it's thinning out for me. Hemsky was Swedish, right?
Hemsky is Czech.
Oh, damn. Oh, yeah, Alesh. I should have known that.
Yeah, Alesh.
Okay, dash for me there.
Yep.
Wow.
There's at least one more that you should know easily at this point. Maybe not, because as you've said, like, you're not necessarily a fan of the 90s Senators.
No, I was not.
But there is one that you should get easily.
My brain doesn't work that far back in the past, or at all, really, to be honest. You know what? Let's save the listeners and viewers some time here.
No, you have to at least get the one who plays on the team right now, dude. Come on.
Oh, well, I mean, Martin Palo.
Okay, there you go. We got one here. For those who are guessing along with us, whether you're in your car, wherever you are, the Senators Finnish Mafia, not necessarily the same oomph as the Dallas Stars one right now. You missed the guy with the most points in Senators history, Sami Salo.
Ah, damn. I would have thought he was Swedish. Wow.
The most games played among Finnish players, Jani Laukkanen.
Yeah, I would not have got that.
I'll give you Jarkko Ruutu as well.
Nice.
And I'm working my way up to one here.
Well, I said Jarkko Ruutu, so you got to give me Jarkko Ruutu.
Okay, yeah. There's Tony Dahlman. There's Lassie Thompson.
Oh, man, Lassie.
There's Roby Järventie in his 7 games.
Okay.
Jyrki Jokipaka.
Kevin.
And Jarmo Kekalainen, the only other player in Sens history to wear number 11 other than Daniel Alfredsson. So there you go. A little
That's
trivia
a fun fact.
here on Locked On Senators. All right, Pillsy, the NHL Draft. Why is it so special to cover this every year?
Well, I mean, it was special to cover this every year before because it was our only hope to have any sort of positivity in the off season, and it gave us the illusion of hope that we draft the right guy and next year we're right back in it. But now that's not necessarily the case. Honestly, I love it, Ross, because going into this, for the most part, I don't know any of these guys. Like, obviously, the top guys you hear chit chat about, the draft lottery comes, you're like, oh, who are the Islanders going to consider taking a number one? Things like that, right? Just casual stuff. But then we dive into it, and it becomes almost like a cast of characters, like on a season of a show. Like I'm like, oh, remember the 2020 season of the NHL Draft? Like, man, there's such good characters there. Or like last year, there was so many interesting, intriguing guys that could have gone either way. And you're like, this guy fits here. This guy fits here. They're going to draft him. They're going to pass on him. Boom, bust, whatever you want. I know these are real people with aspiring dreams and goals, and they're teenagers, but from covering it like this perspective, you almost slot these guys in as like characters with certain attributes that have certain fits in places, and you learn new things about them as you go along.
Yeah, and I also find it awesome then for the next couple of trade deadlines when players get traded for prospects. You've got a little bit of a background of what those prospects were in their draft year, and then you can kind of follow their development because it's never linear with these guys. You can't just say, oh, he did this here. That means he's going to do that there. It really is the most difficult job, I would say, in hockey, is trying to project a 16, 17-year-old kid as the scouting goes on and say, what's this guy going to look like as a hockey player when he's a full-grown man? Exactly. They have to have the right mindset and attitude, which is something I think the Sens have very much valued over the course of time. If you've listened or watched any of our interviews with prospects, and then once they get to the NHL, these are all very well-spoken, well-meaning, motivated individuals who want, more than anything, to help a National Hockey League team succeed. So let's begin.
Well, and Ross, you're the king of that. There'll be a trade at the deadline, and you'll message it in the group chat, and then you'll ask me, you'll be like, oh, what do you think about them getting this player? I'm like, I don't know. I never heard of this guy. You're like, what? Pillsy, we covered him as the 67th overall pick in our draft rankings in 2021. How do you not know this guy? And
so last year we went to the draft, so we got a little outrageous. We did a top 80 draft profiles, 80 draft profiles. The year before, by the way, in 2023, we did, I believe we did, I actually have it here. We keep all of our old draft rankings with us. We had more first round picks in our 2023 rankings, which we did 50 of them there. So we're back to our 2023 one of 50. We had one more. We had 28 players of our top 32 go in the first round. Bob McKenzie had 27. So we beat Bob McKenzie's final rankings where he gets scouts to tell him who's going to go in the first round. So let's get going. Top 50 on the other side. Daniil Prokhorov and Charlie Trethewey. You're Locked On Senators, your team every day. All right, Pillsy, shout out to the everydayers out there making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. We appreciate you guys so much for being here, whether you're watching, listening. We also have shows 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, so never miss an episode. And you still have plenty of time to go back and check the catalog because we've covered all things Ottawa Senators offseason so far, from the budgeting, the free agents, the season in reviews. It's all available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Pillsy, kicking off our NHL draft rankings for the 2025 draft, the decentralized draft that will be taking place in Los Angeles on June 27th. We are going to Russia for Daniil Prokhorov. I have handpicked this guy because he is a goal scorer. That's all he knows what to do. Oh, and he's 6'6" as well.
Yeah, I mean the size that fits what the Ottawa Senators are looking for, but he's one of those Cy Young award-winning players. What I mean by that is he scores a lot more goals than he does assists, so it looks like a Cy Young winner's record in the MLB. In 43 games in the MHL with MHK Dynamo St. Petersburg, he scored 20 goals, 7 assists. Finished a -6 and had 14 PIMs. So clearly, I mean, this guy scored 13 more goals than he had assists. This guy likes to rip the puck.
And this isn't just a new trend for Daniil Prokhorov. Everywhere he's been, he has put an emphasis on putting the puck in the back of the net. He finished 6th on his team in points this past season, 2nd in goals, despite playing 10 to 12 less games than everybody else at the top of this list. 6'6", 210 pounds. He played this entire season as a 17-year-old. He turned 18 in April. He's one of those classic Russian right wing, left shot. Loves to get those one-timers off. We've got a wide range of rankings for him with our 6 experts, and 2 of them left them off of their top list. Bob McKenzie has a top 80, not ranked as of January. Bob McKenzie always updates his list later on, so we'll get those as we get closer to the top. But we average this out just from the people who have them on their lists. And Craig Button with TSN has him at 79 on his list. Elite Prospects at 66. McKean's at 60. And Corey Pronman thinks that Daniil Prokhorov is a first-round talent. Pronman sticking his neck out on this one, having Prokhorov at 23rd overall, calling him the best Russian in the draft. In the MHL playoffs, Prokhorov had 4 goals in 8 games, no assists, and was -7. And we don't get any international stats for Prokhorov due to the political situation going on in Russia. He is the definition of boom or bust, Pilsy. This guy could come in and score 40 goals in the NHL in 10 years, and I wouldn't be surprised. And he could also never play an NHL game, and I'd say, oh, yeah, makes sense.
Well, Rossi, call that playing the game of Russian roulette as far as it goes with prospects, right? Like, look, some teams, the Montreal Canadiens, the Philadelphia Flyers, with Michkov and Demidov, they're like, that was a risk we took, and it is paying off massive for them taking that risk. But it doesn't always work out, and that's why some teams strictly avoid Russia. It's fair to say the Ottawa Senators are in that camp. When's the last time they drafted a Russian?
The Senators have drafted a Russian once in the last 20 years, and that was Igor Sokolov, who played in the QMJHL.
I was going to say Igor's a honorary East Coaster, though.
Definitely. Actually, yeah, no, because Vladimir Nikitin is Kazakhstani, so it doesn't count either.
Right. Wait, and did they? Oh yeah.
No, it's Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Very nice.
But what I was going to get into too is it begins, Ross, where since we've been doing this for 6 years, we kind of have a acute awareness of how these prospect analysts like to rank their players. And one trend we have seen is Corey Pronman sticking his neck out on prospects that other people are very low on. And he doesn't just kind of uptick them a little bit. He really has them up there. And it starts with Prokhorov here. And it's going to be interesting to see. Keep in mind, something we have to talk about every time, but we'll refresh it here since we're starting our list. These are rankings, not mock drafts. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the 23rd overall pick, he thinks the team that has that is going to take that pick. Correct. He has ranked him in his rankings of hierarchy as the 23rd top player. So to just quickly clear that up. And
the last time the Senators drafted a player out of Russia was 2005. They drafted 3 players out of Russia that year. 2 years later, they took Ruslan Bashkirov, who was playing in the QMJHL for Quebec, and the only Russian they've taken since 2007 was Igor Sokolov.
Yeah, so clearly there's a precedent set there. Now, will that change with new ownership, new general manager, totally new executive staff? Possibly, but I don't anticipate it'll change too much. But if it was, Prokhorov could be a guy that they target because he's got the size, He's a goal-scoring right winger. That's what I was just talking about. But Prodman says he's high on him because he's got good hands, plays a physical game. Will Scouch, another good guy we use a lot of his content from, he mentions that he's a good forechecker and an effective player one-on-one, but then tends to turn the puck over with bad reads and passes as kind of the team game gets going. So, Ross, I think this is a guy that's going to be quite a project. I think we could see him putting up nice numbers. But I don't anticipate he's going to be a guy like the high-end Russians, the Michkovs, Demidovs, obviously. But I don't anticipate he's going to be a guy that within a year or two, he jumps right into the NHL. I think there's going to be a lot of work rounding out his game and his skating before he's able to make that jump.
And in the system that he plays in Dynamo Moscow's MHL team, Dynamo St. Petersburg, he would be the first player to play in the NHL from that team.
And just a refresher too, we got to do this. It's the new draft prospect profiles here. The Russian hockey hierarchy goes KHL, VHL, which is like their AHL, and then MHL is like their minor leagues, just for people new to that.
It's like their junior leagues. Like
Yeah,
it's like he's playing against his peers in terms of ages. If they're in the VHL, it means they're playing against men at a young age, but the KHL obviously is their top dog over in Russia. That means it's going to be a long way to go to the NHL for Daniil Prokhorov. If the team that drafts him wants to get this guy over ASAP, I think that would be a very good idea. I think to get him, even if he's playing the ECHL, even if he's playing in Major Junior, if he he gets moved over there. We saw that last year with Ottawa with Gabriel Eliasson. He didn't think he was going to get good opportunity in Sweden, so they said, "Hey, let's work with the agent and get him over playing in North America." That would be my number one goal for the team that drafts him, would be to get him to North America as soon as possible under the development staff of a National Hockey League team, because the physical tools and we're watching MHL shift clips this morning, and he is noticeable every time he's on the ice. He parks himself in front of the net. He's got great hands, great touch around the net as well. I saw a couple tap-ins where it's like a quick rebound and he just settles it down, puts it in. No problem at all. Daniil Prokhorov, if the Sens took him late third round, early fourth, I'd be thrilled. This is not a guy you take in the first 2 rounds. Sorry, Corey Pronman. But if you take him in the third round, this could be an extremely fun prospect to track over the next 4 to 5 years.
So saying that, Ross, he could be a guy you target with Florida's 3rd round pick?
Correct. Hey, it was a trade for Vladimir Tarasenko, so why not reload the Russian in it?
Yeah, true. And that would be well, it's not necessarily a trade tree, but the Ottawa Senators, a little trivia for you, you know this, Ross, but they traded away the pick that became Vladimir Tarasenko. So if they flipped trading him and getting a pick into another Russian, the irony there of keeping that going would be kind of funny. But yeah, I think with Prokhorov, he's a guy, I think he's going to get a lot of garbage goals in the slot just because he has that size to beat out defensemen that are trying to box him out in those hard-to-get areas. And I think for the Ottawa Senators, he's probably not a guy I would really target, although like our good friend Leems Martian said, it would be fun to have a mythical creature Russian prospect that nobody knows about, and then you can just make up these dreams that he's going to come here and just light it up. So that would be fun to have a guy like that in the system. But I think he's not someone the Ottawa Senators should target, especially not in the first round. I give him, for the prospect profiles, a 5-star system of the fit and how much I like player and how much I want the Sens to draft him. I give him a 3 out of 5. So nice player, not the best fit, but wouldn't be upset if they drafted him, I guess.
With an average ranking of 57, Daniil Prokhorov comes in at number 50 on our 2025 NHL Draft rankings. All right, coming in at number 49 from the U.S. National Team Development Program, right shot defenseman Charlie Trethewey, who really caught my attention when he was number 32 on Bob McKenzie's list, saying that this guy could be a first-round pick. He models his game after Charlie McAvoy, two-way style. And I think that he, talk about certainty to be an NHLer, I think that it's a very high probability this guy makes the league.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of tools, Ross. You look at him, he's a right shot defenseman. EP has him at 6'2", 196 pounds, so good size. He's got good mobility. He obviously place you want a developing player to be, the US NTDP. Got to get used to saying that acronym again, Ross. NTDP. Yes. But I think this is a case, and we'll get to it. I guess I'll save it. I'll list off the stats here. In 63 games, had 6 goals, 14 assists, 20 points, finished a +1, 35 PIMs overall. I think this is a player, Ross, that has all the tools, but needs to work on his toolbox. What I mean by that is he's got the size. He's got a nice shot, wrist shot or slap shot. He's got good defensive capabilities. He's able to join the rush. However, I don't think he has that one defining attribute. And I think of all the skills that he does have, each of them needs a little bit more rounding out and an uptick in a little bit, like, maybe get 5-10% better in each area and find a way to put it all together. And then I think he can become a really nice prospect.
One of the younger players, youngest, I should say, in the draft. The cutoff date is mid-September, and he turns 18 in August. So he's still 17 years old and lots of room for growth. Trethewey will be heading to Boston University in the fall. So great program to be heading to. But as I mentioned, Bob McKenzie has him at 32. That's the highest of our scouts. Craig Button has him at 50. McKean's at 58. Elite Prospects at 62, Scott Wheeler at 64, and Corey Pronman did not rank him on his top 64 list. So with that said, you mentioned it pretty well there that he's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, but he's got the history to show that he can put the puck in the net and be a point producer. In minor hockey, at 86 points in 81 games. Even his first year with the US NTDP on the under-17 team, he had 12 goals and 35 points in 52 games. So he does have the resume that would show that there is more offense to him than what he put up there. And with the national team, you have to understand as well that there's the hierarchy of who's getting the power play time, who's getting the opportunities. He was third among defensemen on the team in points, although the two defensemen, one of them that played less games, had more points than him there. So I think that he did fit into his role nicely. This wasn't necessarily the most talented US NTDP team that we've seen in recent history. You look at the players on the list, some of them were, like, in terms of the players on the list, in terms of the draft this year, James Hagan's already playing at Boston College. They didn't have that elite top-end player that we've seen in years past from a Jack Hughes, for example, in 2019 or so on. So it's not like he's getting those cheeky assists where one of the top-end players just goes end-to-end. I do think this was a bit more of a down year compared to the extremely high bar that the US NTDP has. So I'm not really worried about the offensive numbers, and I do like the tools that he has, the young age, and the fact that there's a lot of room to grow. So I'm pretty high on him. And we talk about the Sens needing a right shot guy. I think that he, again, with that Florida pick, and will he be on the board? Bob McKenzie's rankings, which are the most accurate in terms of what the NHL scouts think, makes me think no. And the fact that he does have all of the checklist items that scouts like. Does he have size? Is he a good kid? Is he a right shot defenseman? Does he have tools that could grow into a guy who you can trust in your lineup each and every night? It's all a resounding yes. So to me, he's a guy that's going to probably go at the end of the first round. I think scouts on the public sphere will probably say that's a little too high. But to me, he's the kind of guy that a team's going to fall in love with. You just got to be patient with him, because I do think that he's going to be a guy when he's 25 to 28 can give you 18 to 20 minutes a night at the NHL level.
Yeah, that's kind of my read on him too, Ross. And you look at him being so young and already having good size, and then add on the fact that he's with the national program and then going to Boston University. Like those three things are a recipe for success in a young defenseman, in my opinion. So I actually gave him 4 stars, Ross. I think this is the type of player that the Ottawa Senators typically do go for, a little bit more safe. But I like his abilities and I like the potential that he has. And I think in time, he could project to be a bottom 4 defenseman. And if you can get him playing on a second pair or third pair in the NHL one day as a late first round pick, I don't think I would pick him with 21. So if they trade back, maybe that's an option you look at there. But I think he's a nice player.
Yeah, very nice player. He comes in at number 49 on our NHL draft rankings with an average rank of 53.2. All right, Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show? That was fun, man. You were back in the swing of things.
Yeah, we're getting back to what we know, draft prospect profile. So I'm excited. I hope everyone listening along is excited to follow along with us, as we have 48 more to come here, and they're just going to get better as the talent of these players gets better.
2 a day.
Final thoughts for me, Ross, is are we going to get another Stanley Cup final with a Florida team in it? It's been 5 straight years of a Florida state team being in the Stanley Cup finals. There's always at least one Southern tax-free state team. We could have 2 of them, like Dallas, Florida. I don't know. It is the tax-free thing becoming a problem for the league. I guess this is a big conversation to open up for final thoughts, but it's just the trend of it is just getting wild.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm not counting the Oilers out after one game where they led going to the third period by 2 on the road.
I'm not counting them out either. I'm just saying I think the Dallas Stars are serious contenders, and being up 1-0 is, the Oilers have their work cut out for them, especially now that Miro Heiskanen is back.
Yes, they do. And Stuart Skinner is, as you put in our group chat this morning, got a bit Anton Forsberg in him, where he's either going to get a shutout or not be very good at all. Although I don't necessarily blame him for that loss. Like, yeah, it doesn't look good. He let in 5 goals to get the empty netter, but like,
3 of them on the power play.
Those 3 power play goals, and they're not stopping. That shot on the half wall by Sagan was unstoppable. One was a breakaway in the first period, the non-power play goal. Sagan makes no mistake there. Like, yeah, he looked a little discombobulated on the goal that hit Ropa Hintz's back and then came back out to the goal scorer. I can't remember who it was, but that to me wasn't a Skinner loss, but the numbers don't look great. Yeah, to answer your question, I don't love it. I'm obviously got my future on a Canadian team, which is now an Oilers ticket. And if there is going to be a team in Canada that snaps the drought, it can't be Montreal or Toronto. So may as well be Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, or Vancouver. And I also think McDavid's going to get a ring at some point. So may as well just do it in a year where the Sens are already out. So I'm going to go. I'm sticking with my pick. I think the Oilers. I'm actually going to go look at FanDuel, because I'm sure their Stanley Cup odds got a lot longer after losing game 1 there. And I think they're going to do it. I got no trouble there. And yeah, is the Florida thing a bit of an issue? Sure. But I think that it also shows like they had to build that thing. I think big that time. The Panthers one in particular, they were a joke of the league forever.
Yep.
They hit on a top 5 pick, getting Barkov in 2013. And then it still took another 10 years before they saw a Stanley Cup final. They made some really good moves, and they've drafted really well. Like, look at the guys who are unsung heroes. And yeah, the trades have been great too. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Seth Jones has fit in great, and you get Brad Marchand, who looks awesome. But Eetu Luostarinen, Anton Lundell, like those are drafted. Finn, this is a big Finland show.
This is a Finnish podcast.
Yeah, and so they've kind of had a mix there of, they've got some guys who they drafted and developed. Aaron Ekblad was a 1-1 pick back in 2014, and he won the Rookie of the Year in 2015. Should have been Mark Stone. I'll stand by that. But yeah, no, I think they're just a really good hockey team wherever they were. If they played in Utah, let's say, I still think they'd be in the Stanley Cup final, and I just think that they're a well-oiled machine for sure. So yeah. I like watching them play. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
I need a rematch. I think.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. Are you excited about a rematch, or you have fatigue about it?
No, I like it.
Would you want a trilogy?
No.
Like if Edmonton wins, it's like, okay, we gotta settle this a third time, or
no,
or that's it.
That would mean the Sens aren't in the finals.
Well, yeah, sure.
Final thoughts from me. Shout out to another championship game tonight. It is game 2 of the PWHL finals between the Ottawa Charge and those losers from Minnesota. They're actually winners. They're the defending PWHL champions, but Ottawa got a huge win in game 1 of the best of 5, 2-1 in overtime. Friend of the show, Emily Clark, gets the winner, and this could be the send-off game for the rest of the season. The next 2 games are in Minnesota. It would have to be a decisive game 5 to have another game at TD Place Arena. So I'm expecting the crowd to be bananas tonight. I'm excited to watch this game and just feel the buzz and the energy in Ottawa. So make sure to check out the GLEBE Central Pub on the way to and from the game tonight. It's going to be high voltage hockey, as they call it, with the Ottawa Charge, but really, really fired up to see what they've got in store. I'm sure Kenzie Lalonde will be on the call. We love hearing her, and I'm just excited for championship hockey in Ottawa. So go Charge, and let's get this stranglehold on the series where you just have to win one more, either on the road or worst case scenario, if Minnesota holds court, you come back to Ottawa and win it in front of the crowd at Lansdowne. So fired up for that, and good luck tonight to the Charge, and be loud in there. Be the Thunder. Be the Charge in the TD Place Arena. For today, we say goodbye. We'll be back tomorrow to put a bow on the week. We are very excited to continue our draft profiles. We'll get into another Senators conversation as well. Let us know in the comments how you feel about the draft, and do you want to trade that pick at 21 up, down, side to side, or do you want to defer to next year and maybe get even more draft capital? Of course, by defer, I mean trade the pick for a later pick. The decision has already been made. The Senators will not give up this first round pick. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for liking, watching, listening, and subscribing to the show. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you like the show, click the thumbs up below on YouTube. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and the like. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.